Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the President's Alumni Briefing. I think we have about 70 folks who are registered to join us this morning. I wanted to just encourage you after the President's presentation to include your questions in the Q&A. Please do not raise your hands in the attendees participants panel, since I won't be able to call on you. Yeah, with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Lemons.
Good morning. Thank you, Yoshanda. Welcome to the eve of the 2020 election. I hope you all are sleeping better than I am, but I suspect you aren't. Anyway, it's great to have you here this morning and to have an opportunity to give you a little bit of a briefing on Lehman College and what's been happening, and then to respond to any questions that you have about the college. So let's start with fall semester update. The fall semester is well underway. In fact, at this point, we're at that place in the term where we see Thanksgiving approaching, and that means we're approaching already the final part of the term, which is a little hard to believe, but that's where we are. Our enrollment is a little higher this fall than it was last fall, despite the COVID-19 pandemic. And we've actually got one of the largest freshman classes that Lehman College has ever had. We had a very large uptick in the number of freshmen. It's been steadily increasing over the last 4 to 5 years, but this was a very large increase this year. And so that's a great development at the college. We're still by far a majority of new transfer students, but to have over 1,000 new freshmen is a pretty major step. We also brought in 26 new faculty members for this fall term. And that's a great addition to our faculty. That is a combination of replacing faculty members who've retired, but also some new faculty members as well, about 5 new positions on the faculty. So every one of them is really, really remarkable, outstanding, and just terrific addition to the faculty members that we already have on campus. The campus is not really lively in the sense of having students, because 98.5% of our classes are being taught online, something that we planned for starting in the spring, looking ahead and sort of seeing what was likely to happen. So we don't have many students on campus, but the campus has remained open. Actually, the campus has never really closed. And so it's remained open, but with limited access. And overall, I think because of that, we've done a really good job of not being a source of transmission. And so I think that our approach to limited access campus in a largely online term has been right and has worked out the way we'd hoped it would. I think that becomes even more critical now as we see what's happening in the last few weeks around the country and in New York. One of the major realities for the campus in the fall has been uncertainty around the state budget, because even though the legislature passed a budget in April, that budget was always subject to a possible revision at 3 different places in the budget year. 2 of them already passed and 1 is coming up in December. Those revisions have not really happened in a formal way, but what we've been told all along is planned for a 20% reduction in the budget. Everybody's been waiting on a federal stimulus package. Of course, we know that hasn't happened. That will not happen now before the election. We don't know if it will happen before January. So that puts us well through the midpoint of the fiscal year, which began July 1. And so we actually have now just gotten a 7-month budget, but we're projecting that out over the entire year. And that's based on a 20% budget reduction. That's, of course, a major, major reduction in budget. At Lehman College, that amounts to about a $11 to $12 million reduction. We're fortunate because we go into that kind of a situation with a very healthy fund balance. And that will help us this year and the following year. We've already really made the adjustments that we need to, and we've still been able to offer pretty much the full complement of classes that students need and the services that they need. So we're not happy about that budget situation, but that is a nationwide situation for every public college and university. We're not alone in that. And I think that given all the circumstances, I think we're managing that pretty well. So I want to spend a few minutes just telling you about recent accomplishments at Lehman College. There always are a lot of these to mention. We had a number of students applied for Gilman scholarships. 9 have been awarded them, which makes us again a top producing Gilman institution. Also the same for Fulbrights. Dr. Matthew O'Dowd, who is a member of the School of Natural and Social Sciences, is in the Physics and Astronomy Department, just received a $2.5 million grant that is titled something that I think sounds, pretty amazing and fantastical: gravitational lensing and machine learning in the next generation of sky surveys. And so this is a grant that is done in collaboration with some other institutions, and he's the lead person on that grant. Really fantastic project to have based at Lehman College. Professor Ann Rothstein has actually recently funded 2 grants, each of them around $1.3 million from the U.S. Department of Education TRIO program. Professor Margaret Mifflin, who's an English professor at the college, has published a book that is receiving really glowing reviews. It's called Looking for Miss America: a pageant's 100-year quest to define womanhood. Professor Naomi Zak has been awarded a really prestigious award, which is the John Dewey Lectureship for the American Philosophical Association's Pacific Division. And so there are 3 divisions in the APA, and this is one of the major lectureships that's given each year. And we're really proud of Professor Zak and look forward to hearing that. And wanted to mention also the Sarah Little Turnbull speaker series that we've been having this fall on Tuesdays. Really, really fantastic set of speakers who have come in to talk about design and social justice and social change. An array of speakers doing 1-hour sessions. There are still 1 or 2 of those sessions left. So if you want to check them out, I invite you to do that. And then we heard about a week and a half ago that the Sloan Foundation will be awarding a grant to us. We had discussions with them for some time ago about possible projects that we could do. And what came out of that is the idea of hosting a Bronx Environmental Summit in the spring of 2021, and then using that summit as a way to launch a program in climate change and environmental equity at Lehman College. And that is a cross-disciplinary program that would include members of the faculty and the staff from political science, from earth sciences and environmental sciences, from biology, from other areas as well. The library, including the arts. This is a very broad cross-disciplinary idea to create a center at Lehman College that addresses this issue of environmental and climate change, and particularly focusing on the social justice aspects of that, which are really significant. So we're very happy about that. It gives Lehman College a chance again to stand out in this really critically important area. So to give you a little update on the campaign for Lehman. The campaign for Lehman was something that was begun by institutional advancement as the pandemic was really really beginning to surge in New York. And we were seeing, of course, in March 19, all of our classes went to distance learning. And we already had significant issues with food and housing insecurity among our students, but this really, really caused that to rise dramatically. So we launched the campaign to address housing and food insecurity, for general scholarships and general operations, and also to support emergency loans to students. And one of the things that we learned in May is that 40% of our students, actually over 40%, had lost their jobs. And many, many Lehman students rely upon their part-time and sometimes full-time jobs to enable them to remain in school. So that creates significant hardships for those students and very frequently for their families. So the campaign for Lehman has been really important for us to try to find support for students who really have been kind of moved out to the critical edge of just making their lives work. So the food bank had to go virtual, but we kept it open. And by doing that, we were able to continue to serve students, in fact, a dramatically much larger group of students. And you can see from the quote from this one student that how important keeping that food bank open is in. What we've done is we've done it in a virtual way. So it's a virtual food bank, and it has been done through digital gift cards that can be used at local grocery stores. What we know about our students that's really germane to the situation now during COVID-19 is that roughly 60% of them live with children, 32% of them live with elderly relatives. 86% of them worry about running out of funds to buy food. That's an astounding percentage. 44% have skipped a meal because they had issues with affording food. So our services have increased 75% in May. We had a 300% increase in the use of the food pantry. And as you can see, what's been distributed over that period of time is really significant. One of the things that always just strikes me is that sometimes it seems like what's being distributed is a relatively modest amount of funding. And yet that modest amount of funding can make the difference for a student. The difference in not having to skip a meal, and then very importantly, the difference in being able to stay in school and stay enrolled or not. And one of our major goals through all of this, along with just keeping everybody healthy, has been to allow students to continue to progress, because it's very important that students obtain their degree and not have that delayed, because having that degree is really the critical step to moving forward in their careers, helping themselves and their families. So this is what we've done with the campaign. It's been very successful. We set a goal initially of $1 million. And what we have now is, you can see, we've raised over $1 million, and we've raised so what we've done is we have raised the goal to a higher amount, and we're already moving towards that. We raised the goal to $1.5 million. We've had generous support from our alumni, from faculty and staff at the college, from a number of foundations and individuals. This is what the campaign has been able to do. It's provided more than 2,300 grocery bags and gift and e-cards. It's distributed more than 300 emergency microgrants that have helped students with rent, utilities, and medicine. It's provided an additional $150,000 to help more than 200 DACA and international students. These are students who were excluded from the funding that came through the CARES Act. And then it granted $216,000 for academic scholarships. So you can see that what we've been able to do with this funding so far is really significant and has really made an impact. It shows the caring of the Lehman community, and that very much includes the alumni of the college. So here's what you can do, and we ask you to continue to support. Thank you for what you've done, and ask you to continue to support our students. There are a variety of ways that you can do that, and you can access them through lehman.cunytuesday.org. So please do think about that. I know it's a tough time for everybody. Our whole region has been hit very hard economically, and we know for nobody is it an easy thing to do something like donating towards helping our students. And we appreciate anything that you can do, because what may seem to you like a small amount will actually be something that will be highly significant to a student. So please do think about that and do what you can do. Civic duty is something that I think is very much on our minds the closing days before the election. Really, no matter what your political orientation, I think this is something that has really come to the fore and something that really matters to us. That has really found expression in a number of ways, but one of the things at Lehman College, one of the ways that has really stood out is the Black Lives Matter movement, which really, of course, started a number of years ago, but following the murder of George Floyd, has really been enlivened and energized. And that certainly is true at Lehman College. In the aftermath of that, we've really accelerated our work on campus to see how we engage in Black Lives Matter and in other ways and around issues of race and racism. This is a subtext that surrounds, I think, everything that's going on in the country, whether it's really clear explicitly or not. But it's certainly something we're aware of. This summer, I launched a task force on campus climate and inclusion, which is a task force including representatives from across the campus, faculty, staff, and students. I asked them to look at a variety of aspects on campus that we should be considering, and come to me with a set of recommendations in December of steps that we can take on campus to further consider what we need to do. Lehman is a very diverse campus. We have a very diverse student body. We are a majority Hispanic serving college. And we also have 33% of our students are African-American students. So Lehman has a very large group of underrepresented minority students, also in the staff, and the faculty is also becoming more diverse. That doesn't mean that we don't have issues to deal with and things that we need to think about. And so we are doing that in a very deep and thoughtful way. And I'm looking forward to the recommendations that will come from the task force in December. And of course, back to voting, because voting is what is on all of our minds. And the good news is that Lehman College students have set a very high bar for voting. There's an organization at Tufts University. It's an institute on democracy and higher education that studies student voting and is able to get voting records for students. And the last study that they turned out after the 2018 election covered over 1,000 colleges and universities around the United States. What they found in a previous study after the 2016 election was that about 20% of college students voted. And that's been pretty typical over the years. That's a very low percentage of eligible college students actually voted. In 2018, that doubled. It went to 40%. But Lehman College students voted, 53% of our student body voted. And so we were 13 percentage points higher than national average in our student engagement in the election. We have been messaging really consistently to our students. The student government leaders have also encouraging students to vote in this election. We hope that it's much higher than 53%, this election. I'm pretty sure from the data that I'm seeing that the national average for college student voting will also be significantly higher than 40%. The turnout looks really high among that age group, and that bodes well for our country. And we expect to see that at Lehman College. And if we see that, I think that we're all going to feel much more confident about the future. And this next decade is going to be a challenging decade, no matter how this election rolls out. And if our students are engaged, that is going to be something that can give us hope and make us feel like that the decade, no matter how challenging it may be, we'll have this engaged group of students who have been willing to not only vote, but also to dig into the issues and become involved. So finally, I want to just say a few words about connecting with Lehman. Your being on this session today means that you're already connected, and I'm very happy about that. This is the way you can do that. If you haven't really been on the email list or haven't been connected, you can get in touch with the alumni group and the annual fund through alumni.relations@lehman.cuny.edu. Our very able Associate Director of Alumni Engagement, Robert Pagan, will be in touch with you, and our new and dynamic President of the Alumni Advisory Board, Lawrence Fauntleroy. So we have two really great individuals here to help you get connected and to connect you to the benefits of being a member of the alumni group. There are career services available virtually, continuing education courses at a discount, also virtual for now, exclusive networking opportunities, invitation to special events. We just had actually one in biology, which was a really informative and impressive session on the COVID-19 pandemic. Buyer's Edge and other special discounts and other important things that you can derive from being a part of the alumni group. And of course, by doing that, you're supporting the college. You're supporting something that I know that you believe in and know is one of the most significant things that you can do to support the college and our students. So that's my presentation for you this morning. And now what I'd like to do is open it up for questions that you may have. And Yoshenda and I will monitor those, and we'll try to be sure that we can get to all of them. There's a question here: any plans for mentorship program supported by alumni? That's really such an important question. And I want to say a couple things about that. One is that, first of all, mentorships are very important for our students. One of the things we know about Lehman College students, and this is true of CUNY students as well, generally, is that mentorships really make a difference. Having someone who can connect them to a career path, help them along a career path, give them advice. And again, connections are just everything. We all know that. So mentorship is hugely important for our students. We have a couple of new programs that began last fall with an organization called Braven, which explicitly helps to create mentorships. But we really need our alumni also to be involved in that. And again, what I would refer you back to that contact information. Get in touch with Robert or Lawrence to find out more about how to do that. Another question here: what is the construction at Lehman about? If you've been by the campus, you know that there are projects that are ongoing. There was a hiatus in those projects, but now they have continued. One of the projects that began before the pandemic was the amphitheater area, which is the area, if you were going down to the cafeteria and the music building, that off of that lower level has been entirely taken apart and reconstructed. And that actually is nearing completion. And we'll have a really new and really beautiful amphitheater area there. The other major thing, though, and I just went by it on Sunday and hadn't seen it for a little while, but what used to be the campus bookstore is on the way to being taken down. And it's being taken down so that the new nursing building can rise in that spot. And so it's a little surprising to see. There's been a hiatus right now in the demolition, but that will continue. Even though the state is in a serious budget situation, the money has already been allocated for our new nursing building, and that work is going to continue. A very exciting development. We hope it will stay on track. And I think that although there will no doubt be some delay due to the pandemic, because we did have a hiatus for a number of months, it will continue. And within the next couple of years, that building will be completed and the nursing program will move into a thoroughly modern new nursing building that will be set up for instruction with really the latest technology. And there are other projects going on as well. Two of them, which we will soon be putting out to bid because we've gotten to the point now where we've pulled together all the funding. One of them is the reconstruction of the space in Carmen Hall for the social work program. Over the last few years, we have been allocated funds from the New York City Council and the Bronx Borough President, and now have the $4 million allocated to redo that space. We also have the $3+ million now allocated again from City Council. And here I have to thank our truly supportive City Council member, Andrew Cohen, who's actually leaving his position very soon. He's on the ballot to become a judge in the Bronx Supreme Court, and pretty sure that he will be elected to that position. But he has been a huge supporter of the college, and he worked with the Speaker of the City Council to secure the funding that allows us to pull together $3.2 million to build a new teaching and innovation in learning center that will be in the old gym building. And that will be a very important place for faculty to come and to work on curricula, to develop courses, and work with students. We also have to thank, again, the Bronx Borough President for also contributing to that. So over the last few years, we've really received generous funding from the City Council and the Bronx Borough President to enable these projects to get to the point where we can launch them. So there are also other projects that are ongoing, but those are the main ones. So the campus isn't sitting still. And if you go on campus, there is activity on campus for sure. And although access is limited, we've been in a very safe way, been able to have these projects and the construction crews and our own facilities staff to be there to see that they're ongoing. So another question, when does Lehman open to alumni? I think that the best answer to that question is that, again, the campus has always been open in a limited way, but only to staff, essential staff, and to faculty and other staff who may need to come on campus, either to teach a course, one of the few courses that's on campus, or to go to their office to pick up some essential things or do some essential work that they can't do remotely. Otherwise, the campus remains closed to anyone else who really doesn't have essential work that needs to be done there. We need to do that and maintain that, and I'm sure we'll be doing that through the spring, because we know that contact is what creates transmission possibilities. And so anything that we can do as completely as we need to remotely, we're going to continue to do that. So the Apex will remain closed. It will not be open to anyone until we're really able to open up the campus more fully to students. There may be some changes in that. One of the things that I'm hoping is that we will learn as we move through the rest of this term where there are places where we can safely open the campus. We know that some students would be much better off if they could come to the library, if they could get access to computer resources on campus. And so we'll be looking at that and seeing if there are ways that we could do that. I don't think that the Apex is very likely to be open to alumni or to students or faculty or staff until the summer at the earliest. I think we all know that we're heading into the worst 12 weeks of this pandemic, and this is not the time to relax, to let our guard down and to do things that could potentially create a source. So here's an important comment. We currently aren't allowed to gather in large crowds. However, after the pandemic, it would be great to see more events on the campus. And I think we all really share that feeling. I think we all really look forward to the time when we can again have gatherings on campus that are safe and probably mostly once there's a vaccine that is widespread and our public health officials are telling us that we can do that, we want to do it. You know, the campus is really beautiful. It's been beautiful through this fall season as the leaves have turned. Lehman is a real oasis, right? It's a place where just take a walk around and you get that sense of nature. And it's really, the campus always surprises anybody who hasn't been to it from the city and just isn't quite imagining what a college campus in the Bronx can really look like. And so the campus is really beautiful and our facilities are really great. We've had for many years, Lehman College has had a terrific facilities, buildings and ground staff and leadership. And even though they have worked with always with really tight budgets, have done a remarkable job of making the campus such an appealing place and a place where you just feel like you want to be, like you want to go and just sit on a bench outdoors for a little bit or go to a performance. In every way, the campus really has been such an oasis for many of us. And actually reminds me, I didn't mention this, but another really nice acknowledgement that we received is for the renovation of the Performing Arts Center. That was a $15 million renovation that was completed about a year and a half ago. And the American Architecture Association recently awarded it as one of the top projects in the New York area. So another nice acknowledgement for the campus. So I'm not seeing any other questions, but definitely want to give a little time here if there are any other questions, things that we can answer about the college. Really be happy to do that. Here's a good one. Our personal possessions still safe at the Apex lockers? Yes, they are. Mine are in there too. So yes, the Apex, one of the things that has happened, again, the campus has never really closed and we've always had campus security. In fact, our security officers on campus have really been our front line through this entire pandemic. And we really owe them a lot of gratitude and thanks for the job that they've done, because they've done it in a really professional way. Not always been comfortable, particularly in April and May when the pandemic was really surging in the city and in the Bronx. But they did a good job and they've maintained the safety of all of our buildings. They've always remained secure. So there's a question about the Encore program, which I actually can't answer. So we're going to have to see if we can get some other input on that, about that program. And a question about how many students are starting. I think maybe it's not a completed question, but maybe it's about the business department. And you know, for those of you that are graduates of the business department, you'll be interested to know that although I think even the last 6 or 7 years there's been discussion about creating a school of business. That is something that has been under much more active discussion. We had a study about 6 months ago completed by the founding dean of the business school at Brooklyn College on some of the issues around doing that. And so we're actively working on the proposal to create a school of business. It will be complicated, no doubt, by the budget situation we're in. Nonetheless, there's a lot of support for that and a lot of interest in doing that. So that program has grown dramatically in recent years. It's now well over 12 or 1,300 students in the 3 sub areas combined of that program. So it's a very large department, one that really probably would do well if it were a separate school. And another thing that we've been working on, we have the first course that has just been offered this fall in real estate. And that promises to be a new area where a concentration could be developed. And so there's been a lot of work being done in that as well. So one of the things that the president of your alumni association, Lawrence Fauntleroy, has noted is that alumni can fill out a short survey on the Lehman alumni page. And that's a really great thing for you to do, because it really helps us understand what it is that you would really like to see, what would be helpful to you as an alum. And so if you would fill that out, it'd be great. The survey will be analyzed, and you'll get some feedback as well on what that survey shows. So please do that. I think that would be a really great help for you and for your colleagues. We had another important event that's being marked this year, which is the 75th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations. And given that the Security Council of the United Nations met first at Lehman College in the old gym, Lehman is an obvious place for a commemoration. We actually were in the planning stages well along for having a small commemoration of the 75th anniversary. However, in the end, the rise in the rate of infections around the United States and around the world led us to postpone that event. And we'll see. We don't know if we'll be able to do it still live at some later date, or whether we'll have some kind of virtual commemoration, but it's something that is important to the college. I think that not only is the college a physical place where the UN began, but I think in terms of the ethos of the college, the legacy of Herbert H. Lehman and the international work that he did, all of those things very actively embraced now by the college, by the faculty, by the staff. It's an important moment for us to acknowledge. So we will see how we might be able to do that. Interestingly, the student government got very involved in helping to initiate that occasion that we had to postpone. So it's great to see our students so actively engaged and involved and honoring and valuing that really important hallmark. Is the neighboring high school still a regular part of Lehman College? The American History High School, which is across the street, right in the parking lot, has been affiliated with Lehman, of course, for quite a long time now, and remains connected to the college. We teach those students through College Now courses. We provide security for that campus. So there is an ongoing connection, and those students do take courses also at times with college students aside from College Now. That the campus is open, like it opened like other New York City high schools did later than was planned for the fall, but it did open. It opened with the same kind of precautions that were being taken with the other high schools in terms of controlling density and minimizing their presence on our campus. We have very carefully designed protocols for anybody who comes to campus, including an online screening. And the high school students also have to screen when they come on campus, which they do in just a marginal way now during this fall term. You may recall that we also had a drive-through testing that was in that parking lot that was to the north of the high school. That was the first drive-through testing that was set up in the Bronx, and it's been operating continuously. We managed to move that to the south side of the high school into that much smaller parking lot. So that's where it's functioning now, and it continues to function, and it will for the duration, I expect. It's been really good that the college has been able to provide that service to the community. We worked with the New York State Department of Health. We worked with Montefiore to see that could happen. And again, our facilities staff under the guidance of Vice President Rotolo just did a terrific job, along with security under the direction of Fausto Ramirez, to make that happen, because there are a lot of different aspects to that have to work well for it to go smoothly. So here's a note also from Robert Pagan, just reminding you that when you go to do the survey, you can also put in an application for membership in the Alumni Association. So do both of those things. Go to the page and do both of them. So we'll pause for just, so here's a question about going to the page. And maybe I think what we can do is make that available, but you can, I'm going to go to the place where we've got the URL here and read it out to you again. I have to find it. Or maybe let me ask Lawrence. Yes.
I included the alumni link in my answer, so it should be public, but I'll also send it in the follow-up email.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, so we definitely want to have that available to you. Lehman.edu/alumni/advisory-board, but we will make that available to you in a way that's easier for you to transcribe it and use it. So please do that. The Alumni Association has grown, expanded continually. We want to see that continuing to expand. There's an interesting question. As the only CUNY senior four-year college in the Bronx, does Lehman have any advantage over other colleges? Well, I think it's a big advantage to be the only senior CUNY college in the Bronx. I was reading an article in the New York Times, which is one of those walking tours of New York City articles, and it started out. It was about the Bronx, and it started out by saying that the Bronx is like Atlanta plus San Francisco, which is kind of an interesting way to think about the Bronx, which is 1.4 million residents. And to think that we are not only CUNY's only senior college in the Bronx, but we're really the only four-year public comprehensive college in the Bronx. There is SUNY Maritime over in the Northeast Bronx, but SUNY Maritime is not a really comprehensive liberal arts institution. So we really are the public four-year college in the Bronx. And Lehman, I think, all the way at every level understands how important we are as an institution in the Bronx, as a catalytic place, as an anchor place for the borough. So does that give us an advantage? I don't know if it gives us an advantage. I think that one way that I think it's been very helpful is that our elected officials are really clear about our role. And I meet with them frequently, and every one of them is very aware of how important the college is in the borough. So I think their sense of that importance is heightened by the fact that we are the only four-year college. And the other boroughs have more than one college, except for, I think, Staten Island. So I think that it does put us in a unique role, and I think it really does help when we link to our elected officials, because they don't have a kind of divided loyalty in a way. They can be really supportive of us in kind of an unqualified way. Of course, they support the two CUNY community colleges, Hostos and Bronx Community College as well. But that's different. So yeah, so I think in that way, we do have an advantage of being the only senior CUNY college in the Bronx. Of course, we always can claim we are special, which we are. So that's just another way. So there are, I think we've gone through the questions that have come in, and we're nearing the end of the scheduled time for this briefing. So I think we'll bring it to a close. I want to again thank each of you for attending this morning. Appreciate it, and do go onto that website, do the survey. If you're not a part of the Alumni Association, please join. And have a good day and a good week, and be sure to vote.